Welcome to the Train Like a King podcast, dedicated to all things paddling, designed to help paddlers of all levels get motivated to get out on the water. Tune in, grab your paddle, and let's train like a king. Hey guys, and welcome back to another Train Like a King podcast episode. It's been a while. I've been quite busy over the past couple of months with a couple of races, and it's good to be back. Good to be back home, resetting, getting ready for the next big adventure. But in today's episode, I want to go back to the Molokai solo race that happened in Hawaii a few weeks, probably a couple of months back, and talk a little bit about that race, because I'm sure a lot of you would like to hear that story. So where do I start? So the Molokai solo, I talked about the Molokai solo before I left, and I talked about previous champions and maybe some predictions, and I placed 8th this year in the Molokai solo. So let's talk about the morning of the race. So the morning of the race was interesting because, as you guys would have seen, the southern swell, I think it was a southern swell, on Molokai was really big, and so it was really difficult to get out of the beach at Molokai. Really difficult, to the point where it was quite scary when we were standing. We got to Molokai the day before and we went down and looked at the beach, and it was massive. I'm pretty confident in getting out of waves and timing it, but this swell was nothing to take. I wasn't prepared to risk breaking my canoe on that beach, and so luckily a few of the locals spotted or knew of another beach a little further north that people could potentially launch. And I remember Kai Bartlett going up there the day before and saying that it's actually a better spot, and that you're probably better off walking your canoe down there. So the morning of the race, fortunately my canoe wasn't actually on shore, so I didn't actually have to paddle it out. But one of my friend's canoes was, and he was coming up on a support boat the morning of, and he asked me if I could paddle his canoe out. I originally told him that I couldn't do it because I had a ton of gear, had all my bags and stuff, and it's going to be difficult for me to carry all my gear and time getting out without crashing and breaking my canoe. So I told him I couldn't do it, but then as I was walking down to the beach, that's when I kind of noticed that everyone was moving north to the northern beach. All of the support boats, all the people were walking that way. So I was like, okay, I guess we're not launching off the main beach. And as in doing so, I actually spotted my friend's canoe and realized that he's not going to have enough time to get to his canoe. So he's not going to have enough time to get off his support boat, come down to the hotels or motels where his canoe was sitting on the grass, pick it up, take it back, and in time for the start, or at least in time. It would have been very stressful. So I spotted his canoe, and it was the last one there. So I was like, damn it, I have to take his canoe, otherwise he's not gonna find it, or he's not gonna make the start. So I ended up carrying his canoe a kilometer north to the beach. And when I got to the beach, I realized, hey, it's not that bad. Maybe I can time getting out of these waves. And so I decided to do so. And I paddled his canoe out with the big bag. My bag fell off as I was paddling out, but I luckily made it just over the wave just in time. However, it was quite difficult because I spent the next half an hour trying to paddle around to all the support boats. And there's, 100 support boats out there. trying to find him, and I couldn't find him, and he actually ended up swimming in to the beach, and I found his support boat first, and then gave the boat to him. They contacted him, told him to swim back out. Even though he swam in, I think he still would have struggled to find where his canoe was, because it wasn't actually on that beach. It was another kilometer away on a piece of grass behind abandoned. So, yeah. Anyhow, ended up sitting on the water probably a lot longer than I had planned to prior to the race, because not only did it take a while to get his canoe to him and then me to get my canoe off my support boat, but the race start was quite delayed. So it was actually 20 to 30 minutes delayed, but everyone was prepared to start on time, although there were a few people who were still making their way out to the beach. Hence, they did not start the race when they were supposed to. And we actually drifted at least a kilometer before we actually even started. So we were sitting, I want to say, I was sitting in my canoe for an hour before the race had even started. And, it's not a short race. Preferably, I'd like to be on the canoe 15 minutes before the race. Just enough to warm up and then into it. But that's just how it goes sometimes. And yeah. So the race started well. The wind was pretty decent. Really good wind, actually, I would say. I was quite concerned that it would be a little bit too north, a bit too side, which it was towards the end, but it was pretty good, considering it was pretty good wind. And personally, I didn't feel like I had the best start. It took me a while to kind of get into the rhythm of things. But yeah, I distinctly remember early on, I was following the lines of Tutiari Huatua and Kevin Seron Jerusalemi. We were quite north towards the start, and then the southern guys were the likes of Danny Ching, Ryland Hart, and then in the middle was the likes of Manutea Mion, and who else was in the mix up there? Well, anyway, yeah. And at about halfway for me, this is where I kind of began to hop off the line of, say, Tutiari, which was a bit more of the northern line, and I kind of came to the middle, and that's where I met with, I was right in line with Manutea Mio at the halfway mark, and then south of us was Ryland still. But interestingly, I watched Danny Ching make one of the sharpest moves ever. So he went from being one of the most southern paddlers to turning up and paddling upwind, not upwind, but paddling north and becoming one of the most northern paddlers. He just, right at that point, halfway mark, boom, he had changed his mind and thought, I'm going to go north. And he did it in pretty a decent, a stylistic fashion. It looked like he was riding a wave the whole way up north. And that was turned out to be a really good good option on his part. Kevin, on the other hand, saw Stevie Boy going south, so he chased Stevie south, and they both ended up battling each other too far south. And although I was on the same line as Manutea and Ryland around the halfway mark, I ended up being the most south. Ryland was in the middle, and then Manutea worked his way north and ended up coming second. So I would say that the best line of the day would go to Tutiari Huatua, especially for someone that's done that course. That was his first time. He stayed above Rumline pretty well the whole way. Unlike, say, Danny, who went south at first but then turned north. Kevin was north and then went south, and so forth. So a bit unfortunate for Tutiari, who who wound up on the reef at the end of the race. That probably comes down to his experience of that race and not knowing the finish, because that finish is a very, very tricky finish. There's so many tricks to the trade. I was actually sitting in sixth place, and then I got passed by Kainoa at China Wall. He took the risk on a good wave, and then passed by Miles in the final reef, a couple of 100 meters from the finish line. Just ran straight over the middle of that reef, on the left of the channel, and passed me. And that's just the Molokai solo. That's the Molokai solo. You take a gamble on your line, and sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. And felt good. I've personally felt good pretty much the entire race. I wish I stayed a little bit north, but hindsight's a funny thing. And it's just one of those races that as soon as you finish, you wish you could just be back at the start line, and unless you won, of course. But I had fun, and always looking forward to the next one. So congratulations to Danny Ching on winning another win at the ripe age of 40 years old. That's pretty amazing. But just shows the experience and professionalism that he has. And after paddling with him in the Hawaii Nui last year, I know how onto it he is with big races like that. So hey, experience pays. For anyone that's I'm turning 30 this year, so it's good to know that there's still 10 years of good distance paddling to be had. And I'll probably get to 40, and then I'll say there's another 10 years, because I'm pretty sure I said that when I was 20. What else happened in the Molokai? So the first half was awesome. There was good bump, but then towards the end, when I decided to just go straight to the point, or even a little bit south of the point, towards the end, maybe the last 15 kilometers is where it got a bit sticky and I got a bit of side wind. People say that the wind changed and went a little bit more from the north, so anybody that was south was a bit more difficult to, you're basically trying to cut upwind, which was not the best, because even the likes of Kevin, who had a pretty decent lead on me and a lot of the pack, towards in that last 10k, they were too far south, and I wound up passing them in the last 5 to 10 kilometers, if that. So whereas if you're a little bit north towards the end, then at least you're on the better side of the wind direction coming into China Wall. And I know a lot of guys finished really well coming in close to China Wall like that. So it was an awesome race, and always learning. It was cool for it to take place again. And big ups to second place, Manutia Mion, and all who finished the race, really. Big ups to all of yous. Anyhow, that's all for this episode. I think on the next episode, I'm going to talk a little bit about Te Aitor, which happened a little bit more recently, so I might be able to share a few more stories, and then I'm trying to draw on my memories for this Molokai solo, but it happened a little while ago. But hope you enjoy the episode. Catch you on the next one. Thank you for listening to another episode on the Train Like a King podcast. Check out trainlikeaking.com for training plans, merchandise, and coaching opportunities. If you haven't already, give us a follow so you don't miss another episode. Catch you on the next one.